Welcome to They Said We Said. This is John giving you another weekly spoiler review for American Gods. This is for episode 6, Murder of Gods. This is for season 1 still, so we are at episode 6 out of 8. And this show is getting real damn spiffy. So this episode was directed by Adam Kane. His notable works would be director credits for Daredevil, and Hannibal, of course, that you see that Lifeblood with Fuller. Some episodes of 24. So Daredevil on Netflix is one of my favorite shows of all time, and you could see kind of the same style choices here that he showed on Daredevil. So the very first scene of Murder of Gods, we are in, it looks like contemporary times for the first time in one of these, flash forward, flashbacks, showing kind of the different gods and whatnot in Mexico. And it looks like some illegal aliens or immigrants are trying to cross the border via swimming across a lake. One of the immigrants starts to drown, and then we get a very familiar deity, and one that I could finally pronounce in Jesus Christ, but this Jesus Christ has a little, Latin flair to him, so he looks like kind of like the Mexican Jesus, or Jesus as we'll call him, and he kind of helps our group along the way to get to the promised land. Well, this was very interesting because it looks like as soon as we're in the clear, a bunch of big trucks roll up, probably some Hemis, some dualies, and a bunch of cowboys kind of get out of the car with their very, very American shotguns and very, very American rifles. Which, now that I think about it, I wonder if they're shooting with Vulcan bullets. More on that later. But yeah, they're mowing down the immigrants, and it looks like and there's a bunch of crosses on each of the guns too. So it's very Christian against Christian ideology there. Mexican Jesus versus a bunch of American Christians. They all look like they probably voted for someone that rhymes with dump, like taking a dump. Anyways, there was a lot of symbolic imagery here. They shot Mexican Jesus through the hand. He kind of falls down, and he has the kind of classic wound, and then he kind of lays down and dies in a very crucified pose, although he's just kind of on the gravel. So that scene just kind of foreshadows kind of something that happens later on that we'll dive into, and again, heavy spoilers if you guys don't know already. And thank you, by the way, the last episode, Lemon Scented You, is doing very well on the channel, so I appreciate you guys liking these. So it does depict that the gods can not only die from being forgotten, like that Nana Nui or whatever, for that old tribal god we saw in that animated scene at the beginning of last week's episode, but they could also die conventional ways as well, because it looks like he took a bullet through the heart. Going back to Shadow and Wednesday, they escape the police department. They go back to the hotel room. They're looking around, and Shadow kind of comes clean with Wednesday about what's going on with his dearly departed Laura. And she trashed the place. She completely turned the place upside down, which Wednesday had, some fun comments about that. Hell has no fear, like a dead wife scorn. But they decide to take off, and Wednesday doesn't want to kind of stick around, and they leave just as Laura kind of runs up. So in the car, Wednesday's getting him out of there because he knows that the new guns are probably hot on the tail still. And at this point, Shadow kind of reveals, he lifts off his shirt and shows Wednesday the wound that he suffered from getting stabbed by that tree, the Ent, if you will, Lord of the Rings pun right there. He just kind of tells Wednesday where he got it. Wednesday immediately kind of drops the bullshit facade, kind of tells him that is super infected. It's like when you're in prison and people dip their shivs in poop and shank you. This thing is carrying a major parasite, and so they have to stop the car. Odin tells him, Odin tells Shadow that he knows a charm to kind of fix his problem, and we have a retelling of the scene from The Matrix when Trinity kind of sucks the bug out of Neo's stomach. This is pretty similar to that as well. So he gets this giant, tentacle-like parasite out of him, and they move on. Laura's kind of left in the dust back at the hotel, where our favorite leprechaun Mads kind of shows up and tells her that, hey, just roll with me. I need that coin back. And again, she's like, there's no way in hell. It's the battery that's keeping the car going. And he says, listen, I know a guy that knows a guy. I could get you there, and he'll just resurrect you like for real, and not just like, you know, little battery power. We'll get you good and going, really living before that summer comes in. You know, and she's hesitant. At that point, she's got all the questions. She's seen just way too much shit to kind of just, you know, and experienced it herself just to kind of, you know, roll with the punches. Although Laura seems to be a lot more accepting than Shadow is. But, you know, then Mads kind of breaks it down, tells her that he's a leprechaun, and so they start kind of hot wiring a car. She kind of goes along with it. So guess whose cab they're trying to steal? That's right, Salim. Salim was the gentleman that was cuddling up with the Djinn. If you don't know what a Djinn is, check out my past video on this subject matter. Has a lot of Magic the Gathering references, but it fits. And very conveniently, we get Mads kind of telling Salim that he knows the exact same Djinn that Salim is looking for, and to kind of, you know, drive him to where they need to go. So this starts the pretty much my favorite part of the episode, and there's a lot of back and forth, but I'll just say I love the road trip between Salim, Laura, and Mads. It's very much a motley crew. They get to go back to the kind of alligator or crocodile bar. They have some really nice dialogue there. I really enjoy the dynamics between Mads, Salim, and Laura. Just a quick side note about Laura. Everyone just seemed really like just put out that she's dead. Like even Salim's just like, you kind of smell dead. You always have like flies around you. And then just the fact that she's smoking too, it's almost like her very presence is similar to someone that's like sits down next to you and lights up a cigarette in a non-smoking area. It's just kind of off-putting. So her whole essence, her whole aura, Laura's aura, is very off-putting just by itself, just by smelling dead, tasting dead, you know, just being off. And then just the fact that she's smoking too, it's just she's very annoying, and which is funny because she doesn't say much. So we get to Vulcan, Virginia, and this is another stop on Wednesday's kind of recruiting class to try to get some of the, you know, get the band back together to go toe-to-toe with these new gods. And just driving through this town, it looked very much like BioShock Infinite almost, where it had a very 1950s Americana meets like the Third Reich, because apparently Vulcan is the god of NRA and America. You know, he's the analog of, I think is how you pronounce it, is Hephaestus, which is the Greek god of the forge. So he's like the blacksmith god, the god of fire, basically. And we see a very unfortunate, you know, middle management person take the plunge into the volcano, and kind of, you know, Vulcan's essence and Vulcan's sacrifices get fueled by basically blood going, you know, human sacrifices going into making these bullets. I just really love the imagery, and the cinematography was great for this scene. Just the kind of slow roll into town, very eerie. You get to, you know, there's like no one there, but you just see this giant like factory with just smog just taking over the entire horizon, which they did a very good job making it look like a volcano. And then, you know, the more you creep in, the more you see the denizens of Vulcan, Virginia, and they even have like the Nazi armbands and stuff. They took a lot of attention to detail. It was like a frozen in time. What if, you know, Hitler and World War II was won by the Germans, and they did inhabit America? And it's almost eerie to think about those kind of like towns, I guess southern towns and stuff like that are very, you know, gun forward and stuff like that. I don't want to turn this into a big political, you know, thing, but it is kind of creepy to think that there is shit like this going on in our country. We get introduced to the man, the legend, Vulcan himself. This is played by Corbin Bernsen. It's very good to see him, especially in this role. He did a fantastic job. He just looks kind of like, you know, in the sea of what looked like, you know, Nazis. He is just kind of an average American looking dude. He's got the aviators on, he's got the bomber jacket, the jeans, and a big gun at his hip. So it just, the style choices for Vulcan, Virginia were just fantastic. I just loved the contrast of what you saw of everyone in this almost like a, black and red uniform, synonymous to the Holocaust, and then you just see the most American looking middle-aged baby boomer just kind of walk out, and everyone just kind of, for the funeral, they just shoot their guns high in the air, and Shadow has to kind of jump in the car while he gets a bullet rain. Vulcan, Wednesday, and Shadow kind of have a parlay. Shadow immediately is sniffing bullshit right away. Like, he does not trust Vulcan at all, especially because he knows something is weird with the whole lynching thing, with the tree. And Wednesday's just like, yeah, he's my boy from back in the day, but something isn't up to snuff. Even though Vulcan says he's legit and he's ready to go to battle, he even goes as far as saying, I'm going to craft you a weapon of the gods. So he goes and makes a giant Valyrian steel sword, Game of Thrones reference. This thing is sick. I mean, it's going to be really hard to get on an airplane, but the thing is awesome. But then we get the big reveal that was, to no one's kind of surprise, that Vulcan is on the side of the new gods. He's already informed, probably Mr. World, that Wednesday and Shadow are there, and they're going to come for him. So, Wednesday basically is saying, hey, we're not getting the beliefs anymore. We're not doing as good. Like, we need to fight for our believers, right? But someone like Vulcan is totally bought in now. No one's praying to the god of the Forge, but people, and especially Americans, are worshiping their guns, their firearms, and stuff like that. So Vulcan's still getting the same amount of praise, if not more, with the new way of the world. So in the dumbest move possible, Vulcan hands Wednesday the sword. And like I said in the beginning of the episode, which kind of foreshadowed with the killing of Mexican Jesus, Wednesday just takes the sword right through the head of Vulcan, and he kind of goes back and gets absorbed into his own volcano. Wednesday takes a second to relieve himself into the volcano, kind of curse the weapons. I'm interested to see how that works. Are people gonna have these bullets and they're all gonna misfire now because Odin kind of cursed them? That's gonna be really cool, really interesting to see, and just great cinematography. Everything that had to do with Corbin Burnson and Vulcan, Virginia, even his house, everything is in red hues. Everything is very color saturated, basically like a blacksmith or a fire god would be. And just the making of the bullets and everything, it just oozes with style. I loved the direction of Adam Kane's vision on the cinematography for Vulcan. So real quick, here's some things that I loved about this. Again, I just went on forever about how much I enjoyed Vulcan, Virginia, everything they did with that, shooting wise. The cinematography was top notch, was totally spot on. Also, I love the road trip. I love the road trip between Mads, Laura, and Salim. It was very cool back and forth, especially all the jabs from Mads in the backseat. He was basically a backseat driver with whatever shit was taken back there, keeping him company. He's poking fun at Salim, saying that he had a genie in his bottle and stuff like that. Just the dialogue for Mads, he's probably my favorite character to watch on screen. That's what I really loved about the episode. What I did not really care for about the episode, Shadow's reactions are starting to get to me. It's like every single thing that happens. I mean, yes, I understand. If I had a big giant Eldrazi worm, crawling around in my stomach and someone pulled it out, I would probably react the way Shadow did. However, seeing him like, oh my god, what did you just do? When Wednesday killed Vulcan, I mean, he's seen some shit at this point. Shadow has seen some things. He's even has these weird telepathic powers with Laura. He's able to see what she's up to even if she's hundreds of miles away. Come on, at this point, get on board a little bit. Stop acting so crazy. It's just like, that this guy was a god. That he just kind of fucked you guys over. So just get on board a little bit with the reactions. It's just like, I don't know if it's the writing or if it's Ricky Whittle at this point, but just tone it down a little bit. Shadow, we're seeing this world and we're being introduced to this world through Shadow's eyes, basically. Don't make me not like the POV character. And one more thing, I think they wasted Vulcan. I think he was so awesome. But maybe it was just the set and the location that was amazing. So maybe that was his arc. But man, what was he cool, and that scene was cool. And I just feel like they took him away too fast. But that's pretty much it. That's the things I love, the things I didn't care for. 2 things I'm sorry for this week, ladies and gentlemen. First off, my hair is super bad. And second, this review is coming out a little late. And I forgot that Fear the Walking Dead was coming back. And I really forgot until I was watching it that Fear the Walking Dead had 2 episodes for the season premiere. So I was a little bit behind on my American Gods review, and I'm sorry. Now I know I could plan for better this week, so expect the review a little bit sooner. So I hope that you enjoyed those reviews of Fear the Walking Dead episode 1 and 2 with Alex Scott from The Walking Bread. Sadly, he did not join me today for this, but you get this ugly mug with this rat's net. I don't know what the heck's going on. Anyways, guys, my name is John Dunning. You can find me on Twitter at OrzovDunn. You can find me on the They Said We Said Facebook group, and you can find me at the They Said We Said on Instagram. That is my review. I will see you next week for American Gods in 7. Can't wait for that, and we'll see you next time.